Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode of Structural Sense Podcast. This is officially episode number 001. This is our first real episode. We'll see how it goes. I think we got a good one lined up for you guys. We've got an interview with Marc Pagcaliwangan that we've filmed. He's got some big news coming up, a good interview with him. We're going to talk about nutrition because apparently I was bad. And maybe I made some questionable decisions over a recent road trip. And if I look a little beat down, I've been on the road since Friday. Quick road trip down to Philly, quick turnaround, rush back, funeral today, and then in here to film this for you guys tonight or record this for you guys tonight. So I'm a little bit off my game, but Ryan will keep me straight. And so we're going to talk about some nutrition and nutritional choices and some of the mindset that leads us towards that. And then we're going to close it out with Ryan's tip of the week. So as always, I am at Steve Sansford. I was the one that misbehaved. This is at Ryan from work. We're going to see if he can't straighten it back out.
Yep. So let's talk a little bit about your week.
So let's talk about the workout from last week.
Okay.
We changed it up the days a little bit. We worked out Monday. We worked out Wednesday.
Yep.
And you finally remembered your scale now after 18 weeks. So after 18 weeks, we're finally able to do the first weigh-in.
Yep.
And we're at 352.2, I think is what we had. But Ryan doesn't know how to work his scale, so we have no other numbers.
We'll get it fixed for next week.
We had a technical glitch.
Yeah.
Okay, so 352.2. Go.
In what sense?
I don't know.
All right. So 352.2. Your goal again, Steve, is weight loss.
Yes.
Right? Or weight management, we like to call it.
Yep.
In regards to how Steve did last week, as far as his training, it was great. There was a day actually we had a conflict as far as a call that Steve needed to be on. So we more or less had a situation where we had to improvise with our training and get a lot of stuff done in a short period of time. So what we decided to do instead is increase the intensity, right, in order for you to get a little bit more of a burn or a little bit more of a workout in a shorter period of time, right?
Yeah. I remember that day.
Yep. What I like to let everyone know is that, as far as a lifestyle of building into exercise, right, it's never something that you have to spend an hour or 2 hours in the gym, right? We talk about, the fitness industry as far as when it comes down to exercise alone. Depending on your goals, the maximum that you should ever really use, for the most part, in my personal opinion, should be in around 4 hours a week, right? But what people don't realize as far as when it comes down to those goals, they don't realize that it's the other 164 hours, right? So yes, we can crank up the intensity. We had a 35-minute workout, and we crammed in everything, or for the most part, everything that we needed in that hour,
so. Yep.
right? Which was a little bit more intense, right? Yep. I know that for you, during the workout, and we'll give you some footage of that because we do have some footage of that.
We do.
Yeah, I have the footage of you doing the sled.
Oh yeah, with you sitting on the sled.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was fun.
So to increase the intensity, what we did this time around is normally Steve does on a sled pull push, he'll do 135 pounds, right? But we ramped it up. I'm about 180. So I sat on the sled this week, and we also lowered his rest periods. And, I think for that, as far as when it comes down to that intensity, right, it was actually more beneficial than that full hour.
It may have been.
Right.
It felt more intense than the first hour. It felt like I've been in here all day.
Yeah. So it's one of those things, again, you don't have to spend multiple hours here in the gym in order to get your results.
Yeah.
It's what comes out of the other 164 hours, right? And talking about those other 164 hours, part of the reason why Steve said at the beginning of the podcast that he ruined it was because he posted a picture. We do a lot of road trips when it comes down to our network marketing business, and they went on one road trip this weekend. And Steve, what did you have?
I went to Cracker Barrel. I got to preface the Cracker Barrel story. We live in Canada. We don't have Cracker Barrel. So ever since I was a kid, traveling to the U.S. and going to Cracker Barrel has always kind of been the thing. And it started at the Cracker Barrel in Watertown, New York. That's where we happen to pass through. Mm-hmm. And for the last 25 years, I have always ordered exactly the same meal at Cracker Barrel, no matter where I go. Fried chicken tenderloins, double macaroni and cheese, and hash brown casserole. It belongs nowhere near anything even related to a fitness podcast. I don't even know if it belongs on a food podcast, but it is what it is, and I love Cracker Barrel. I haven't changed that order in 25 years until actually this year. I've been to Cracker Barrel probably half a dozen times this year because I've been on the road a lot. Detroit, Atlanta, Oklahoma, and now Philadelphia. And Atlanta at the beginning of the year, I switched it up. And when I went to the Cracker Barrel, I had the steak and 2 helpings of broccoli and the vegetables.
Yep.
And Cracker Barrel makes a great steak. I completely enjoyed it. But I hadn't had my obligatory, and I'm obligated to have that. Ryan will correct me. I'm obligated to have that meal. So I thought, you know what? It's going to be a quick turnaround time. We got in the car Friday at noon. We knew it was 10 hours down, quick overnight in the hotel room, 10 hours of classroom training, and immediate 10 hours back. I knew that was going to be enough stress. I was going to enjoy my Cracker Barrel meal. So you guys can see a picture over there. One's watching on YouTube. I'll put it up in the corner so you can see what we're talking about. You know, so we want to talk about a lot of road trips, a lot of the decisions that go in, a lot of the added stresses. After that, the meals consisted of, I think we had hamburger when we got down to the hotel because it was 11 o'clock at night. Everything else in King of Prussia was closed. Didn't plan ahead. Breakfast at the hotel was great. Scrambled eggs, bacon, sausage. At least it tasted great. High in fat, but no carbohydrates. Lunch was a boxed lunch, bit at the mercy there of the event itself. The boxed lunch consisted of a sandwich, an apple, a cookie, a bag of chips, all that wonderfully healthy stuff that we have at lunchtime. Dinner on the way home was, we stopped at the Outback. It's kind of a tradition. It's what we do. 9-ounce sirloin with broccoli and French onion soup. And that was all I ate until breakfast this morning. So again, timing the meals I think is important too. But that's what an average road trip looks like. But I posted the picture of the meal from Cracker Barrel. Now that you guys know what happened, I love my Cracker Barrel. And Ryan put a comment underneath. He's like, why? For the love of my life, why? He put on that post. And on the other post on Facebook, I think it was something along the lines of, Steve, you have ruined everything. Which might seem a little bit overdramatic. At least I hope so. But why don't you talk a little bit about, you've been on these road trips.
Yes.
You know what they're like. We're all busy with business. We're all busy. Those 164 hours that we're not in the gym in a week, we can sometimes be under a lot of stress, especially on a time constraint like we had in that situation. I know there's a couple of people watching this podcast with me, right? And will be watching this podcast that were on that road trip, and they'll be leaving comments below saying, we were on the same road trip as you, and we ate great. And they did. They did a wonderful job. They stuck to the meals. They were much better than I was. Congratulations to both of you. You know who you are. I didn't. I ruined everything. I ruined Ryan's life, and now he's going to tell us how to fix it.
Sure. So my big thing, you know, as far as fixing or making healthier choices, the biggest thing with that is preparation.
Absolutely.
That is the number one thing. You'll see it with a lot of, say, for instance, fitness competitors. They'll take Sunday because it's not the busiest day of the week, and they'll prepare all their meals for the whole week. That way, they more or less just have to go grab their meals for the day, right, and step out of the house with them. But really and truthfully, I think about, you know, why exactly you wanted that meal. That's what really goes through my mind. So what was it exactly that triggered that for you?
I haven't had it in a year.
Okay, so it's just more or less
habit.
Okay.
Let's look at that. That was habit. Okay, that was purely habit. When I go to Cracker Barrel, that's the meal I have because I enjoy it. I love macaroni and cheese, best dish ever made. I love fried chicken. Who doesn't? It's phenomenal. Cracker Barrel puts it all together in a reasonably priced package that's filling. Because then after we left Watertown, it was 6 hours to Pennsylvania. I made everything open. I'm still going to be full from that meal 6 hours later. Little snack before bed just to keep the edge off. You know, because it was a last-minute decision this trip for me, too. We left Friday. I decided Thursday I was going.
Yeah.
So not a lot of preparation time. No excuse. But why did I have the meal then? Because I thought to myself, could I have the steak and broccoli? Sure. Am I going to enjoy it? Probably. Cracker Barrel makes a great steak. But I hadn't had it. You know, and the habit just kind of kicked in. I said, I want that. You know, I'm heading into 2 very stressful days. You know, since Friday at noon, I spent 20 hours in a car, 8 hours in a hotel, 8 hours in a training, and 2 hours at a funeral, and then 3 hours in a car to get back to London, and 3 hours in a car to get to Oshawa in the first place. I gave myself a cheat meal for that.
Okay. Right.
That's the habit, right?
Yeah,
I think I might have earned it.
That works perfectly fine.
I'm pretty sure calorie-wise I'm still down, but. Ryan's watch is talking to him if anybody heard that.
So as far as having a cheat meal, we've always talked about cheat meals, and that works perfectly fine because that was one of the only ones that you had, right? Upsettingly, though, what ended up occurring was because there was lack of preparation, right? That night you had to have a burger,
Yep.
right? You know, the following day it was boxed lunch.
Compound effect.
Exactly. So it part of it just escalated, right? It was one of those things. And for me, you know, I don't really like to count calories. I'm not a calorie counter.
Yeah.
I just like having good macros, right? Like as far as good fats, good carbs, good proteins, right? So I think partially when it comes down to it, with you wanting that, right? There are, and I want to get like this might be a little too much for some people, right? But a lot of people have heard about dopamine, right? And what dopamine does to the body as far as reward, right? So you knowing that you're allowed to have something like that, that was a reward for you.
Trust me,
right?
that meal made me feel better for the rest of the
created
weekend.
more dopamine, right? And you also knew you were going into a more stressful,
Absolutely, it was stressful,
right? So it could be partially the fact that you could have wanted something because you knew that you're rewarding yourself for the effort that you had. And I'll be honest with you guys, for the most part, you know, when I said all that stuff, I was completely joking.
Absolutely.
Right? You know,
and I knew he was too.
It's not. I
just had a comment on preparation. Could we have prepared the meals ahead of time? Could we have taken our food with us?
Yeah.
Yes, except for one problem. We're crossing an international border. We
Yeah.
can't take fruits and vegetables, and I believe there's some kind of meats we can't take.
Exactly.
You know,
Can't take
you
any.
can't take that across the border.
Yeah.
You know, we could have stopped on the other side of the border and stocked up. We tend to do that for a longer road trip, like Oklahoma or Atlanta. We'll stop at a market, at a grocery store, and stock up on some snacks and supplies. But for a quick run to Philadelphia, we didn't take the time to do it. But that's just a little bit of preparation there. We can't legally take that stuff across the border.
Exactly. And what I would say about that is, like, for the most part, that was just one of those situations where it just happened.
Yeah.
Right. And there is little lack of preparation. In those situations, you just want to make better choices.
Yeah.
Right. As best as you can. However, you know, if you're going to go have mac and cheese, hash brown casserole, wow, I can't even say it. Hash brown casserole.
It's like thesaurus.
Exactly. Right. And chicken tenders. Right. Then have that be the only meal. The biggest thing is, like, you can't avoid some of the other things later on down the road. So that was all preparation based. But you know, what I would say as far as my advice, and what I would say to my advice to everyone here that's listening, is normally when you do plan a trip, right, you know ahead of time where you're going. Yep. And in those situations, you have a decent amount of time.
Sure.
So it's important to also do some research on some of the places in the area. Yep. That way you are making better choices. Yep. And you know, it's like this, you know, we prepare so many different things as far as, like, our days, our lives, right? You know, as far as even our success and what we want to do to become successful when it comes down to financials and family and all the above. But why don't we do that with our own health, with our own eating?
That's a great question.
Right.
So I know we're about to get hammered in the comments here by those other fellow attendees on the road trip who did a better job than I did of preparing. I'm not going to make it because they knew they were going longer than I did, but they prepared some snacks. They did very well. Very, very proud of you guys. You guys did phenomenally well.
Yeah. So yeah, it's, again, it does come down to preparation and just making sure that, you know, you prepare prior to, and in a situation where you do have an extended period of time to make those preparations, you know, it'd be good to do more research on those.
So what do you eat at the Cracker Barrel?
What I eat is at the Cracker Barrel. So when we're on road trips, the reason as to why we stop at Cracker Barrel in the first place is because it's along the highway. Right, and you can catch one
along the highway.
Yeah, where is it?
It's everywhere.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
It's consistent. It's exactly the same no matter where you go, and it's reasonably affordable. Yeah. Right. I think that meal was with an unsweet tea was $13.37.
Yeah. Right. So for me, if I'm going to be on the road and I'm going to be eating at a restaurant, sometimes I do have some bad things. I'm not going to lie. Who doesn't? Right? Yeah. Because you're on vacation or you're on the road. Right, but for the most part, I stick to meat and vegetables. Yep. Part of the reason as to why I stick to meat and vegetables too, due to the way my body type is. Yep. Right, for me, when I have a simple carbohydrate, when I have something like wheat, or I have something like potatoes and things like that. Yeah. I find, and even rices, give or take, I find for me, I get exhausted. Yeah. So after about half an hour worth of eating, I'm just completely spent. Yeah. So if we're on the road and I have to drive or I have to stay awake in those situations, right, I'm not going to have something super heavy, right? I'll have vegetables and I'll have protein, because as far as when you digest it as well, your insulin doesn't spike, right? So the insulin spike does cause it to drop, right? Now, I was actually listening to a podcast the other day, and it was about the whole concept of insulin and cortisol, right? So cortisol is a stress hormone, right? The interesting thing about what insulin does is it helps with cortisol, but insulin is not necessarily our best friend. It's the hormone of aging, right? So it does cause issues. So you knew you were coming, like going back to what we were just talking about, you knew you were going into a day of stress. So you knew that was coming. So, you know, it could be one of those situations where, as far as when it comes down to that reward, knowing that you can have it, and then also that happiness, like a serotonin base, right? You could have the food, and then therefore it would reduce your cortisol. It would actually help you feel better, right? So some people do make decisions.
It really did. It really did help me feel better.
Right? You know, and it's one of those things as far as, you know, when it comes down to a person that's not in the field of fitness, those aren't big things that you need to know about when it comes down to like insulin and cortisol and, you know, dopamine. That's all a lot for the most part. But I mean, when it comes down to a lot of it is the mindset and understanding why exactly it happened in the first place, right? Because people don't make decisions, you know, they don't wake up in the morning and go, oh, I want Brussels sprouts. It's just, they always want carbohydrates. They always crave something specific.
Let me stop you right there, because I did wake up this morning. I say this morning because I went to bed at 6 a.m. When I got home, I woke up at 12:15. We had to leave at 12:45 to get to the funeral on time. And the first thing they said when I woke up was that my niece had made pancakes for breakfast. And they were in the oven waiting for me with sausages. So I had my niece's pancakes for breakfast. It is what it is.
You're set up, right?
So I was set up. Okay, great. So when I prepare my own food at home, I have no problem eating the meats and vegetables because I enjoy it. If they're forced me to eat steak, twist my arm. With broccoli, I love broccoli. Twist my arm again. Cabbage, I love cabbage. Just eat it by the head. Just peel a leaf off and eat it if I could. I do that. I can't do it. How do you get the buy-in from people around you? Whether you have somebody else, you have roommates and you guys pool on meals. You have a spouse whose eating habits are not aligned with yours. You're visiting family for whatever situation, and then they want to host you while you're there. How do you communicate your nutritional requirements to those people?
I mean, you know, their goals aren't necessarily your goals. And in those situations, it does come down to preparation. But at the same time, it could come down to the whole concept of just having a conversation about it. Just really saying, you know what, this actually does mean something to me, and this is what I want, and I'd appreciate your support in the fact of, like, I know that you might need it as well,
right?
Type of thing.
So let's talk about mindset.
Okay.
The mindset to have that conversation. You know, for people that have the yo-yo dieting, you've talked about that before, that may be a difficult conversation to have with a spouse or a close family member or a roommate, saying, you know what, I'm on another diet. I know you hate that word. But that's the way that conversation is going to happen. It's going to be about I'm doing another low carb diet. I'm doing another whatever the fad diet happens to be. You can imagine that the spouse is kind of like, yeah, you know, it didn't work out for you last time, or, you know, the mom wants to cook the meal, right? So it goes to mindset, I think, and how focused are you?
And what I was going to say was it could also come down to the whole concept of wording, right?
Words are powerful.
So, you know, instead of saying the whole concept of diet, or, you know, bringing up that concept of diet, because this is the thing, right? When you hear the word diet, majority of people right away think in their mind, what's the one thing that you think in your mind?
Diet?
Yeah.
When I hear the word diet, I don't like the word at all. I don't know if I use it time to time. It conjures up images of something that's not going to work.
There you go.
A diet to
me
is
exactly what
diet,
it is.
I hear the word diet. Okay, that's not going to work.
Right.
So maybe there. Okay, I hear what you're doing.
No matter who it is, for the most part, I guarantee you, every single person, when you hear the word diet, I need to go on a diet. The person that hears that says that's not going to work.
Oh, it's not going to work.
Right in their head, they already know.
Never work.
And that's the whole thing behind it, right? So, you know, I think a lot of the wording behind that is changing to, listen, we need to change our lifestyle.
Okay, that's a good tip.
Because, you know, if you're trying to fix it in other ways, why not try to fix it in the whole concept of food? Right? Because, you know, we only live once, right? And depending on the foods that you eat, yes, you can enjoy some, right? But at the same time, too, you have to moderate it in order for you to live longer and healthier, right? So when it comes down to that, yeah, maybe it's that whole like, lifestyle. Again too, it could be another idea of, instead of setting yourself up for failure, right, or having someone set you up for failure, right, set yourself up for success, right, find ways that you can set yourself up, right, for success by doing the grocery shopping, right, and bringing home things and being like, this is what we have, there's nothing that we can do about it, right.
And that works. And I think that's where it really starts, is at the grocery store.
Yeah, but it is mindset, and this is the whole this is what we talk about as far as the whole podcast.
Yeah,
it's that whole idea of, it's not necessarily just about the fitness. Yeah. You have to have the mindset prior to, in order for you to get the results that you want. Because if you go in there and you only focus on getting the results that you want, but you don't think about everything else on the back end, right? As far as having to eat healthy, right, and just like, being able to sleep properly, things like that, then you're not going to get the results one way or another. You could grind yourself all day, all night here at the gym, right? And it's not going to help, because there's that other 164 hours of the week, right?
I want to read you something.
Yeah.
This is a passage from James Allen's book, As a Man Thinketh. I don't know if you've read that one yet, but it comes up in time to time. Read a lot of personal development, and I read this passage, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it. The chapter's titled, the subchapter's titled, 3 Examples of Ignorance. Here is a rich man who is the victim of a painful and persistent disease as the result of gluttony. He is willing to give large sums of money to get rid of it, but he will not sacrifice his gluttonous desires. He wants to gratify his taste for rich and unnatural foods and have his health as well. Such a man is totally unfit to have health, because he has not yet learned the first principles of a healthy life. I really think the key word in there is rich, and I assume that means like a rich dessert, and unnatural foods, meaning processed foods. I thought that was a very powerful paragraph. I mean, we all know what the painful and persistent disease as a result of gluttony. We all know what that is. It's diabetes. Exactly. Right? It's just an interesting paragraph in that book. What are your thoughts on that paragraph?
I think my thoughts on that paragraph would be, so he wants to have a rich life, but he doesn't want to give up. He basically wants health.
Right. He's willing to give a large sum of money to get rid of his disease. Yeah. But he's not willing to change the habits that cause the disease, because, as it says here, because he has not yet learned the first principles of a healthy life.
Habits are important, though.
Habits are everything.
I've seen this, for instance. I've seen some people, for instance, that are significantly overweight, 50, 60, 70% body fat, ridiculous. And when it comes down to them, they go to get gastric bypass. Right? And after they get it done, they try to work at it, but then they don't develop the skills they have, or that they need in order to build a healthy lifestyle, and they revert back, and next thing you know, they gain that weight back. Right? Because all it does is physically shrink the stomach, but psychologically doesn't work the mind. So my thoughts on that would be, as far as the same thing, when it comes, mindset is so important, and when it comes down to eating, it's you need to know what exactly it is. And I think for a lot of people is we get so caught up in life, right? We get so caught up with things that are going on that we don't realize how important our health is, right? So when it comes,
until it's too late, then we try to buy our way out of it.
Exactly.
And it can't be done.
Yeah, and it can't be done. Right.
I thought that was very powerful from that paragraph.
Money can only buy so much.
That's true.
You can get all the material things that you want, but I mean, when it comes down to your health, if you have cancer or something like that, or when it comes down to even like diabetes, right? Type 2 diabetes, that's something that just comes on. I've had several people, for instance, other trainers, not personally, I don't have anyone specifically, I don't think, with diabetes right now. No, I don't. But I have had other trainers who have had clients who have had type 2 diabetes. And after an extended period of time, not even really extended, after like 6 to 8 months of training with their trainer and changing their lifestyle and their healthy eating, they didn't have to take their insulin anymore, right? They were just, it just went away. Now, I'm not saying that it got fixed, because I can't say that.
Can't say that.
You know?
But it suspiciously disappeared.
But it just went away, right? So, you know, the only reason as to why they got to that point in the first place is because they had someone coach them, teach them, and work with them. Right? Now, there's certain motivation behind it, right? And it's important to have that mindset and that mindset to get that motivation to do it. But when it comes down to it, a lot of it is wanting to change, right? It's wanting to get that.
Awesome. So for those of you that tuned into our episode 0, the Who Are These Guys and What Are They Doing episode from last week, you'll know that we hinted that our interviewee, is that right? Interviewee?
Yeah.
Our interviewee, our interview subject was professional boxer Marc Pagcaliwangan, currently 10-0. We were there when he got number 10. We sat down with him and had a chat with him for a few minutes about his mindset and how it's helped him with his career. So we're going to roll that for you guys right now.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, to make his way to the red corner, boxing out of London, Ontario, Marc Pagcaliwangan!
Mark should introduce Mark.
No, I'm the guest, bro.
Exactly.
You're supposed to introduce the guest.
Oh, okay. All right. Hey, how you guys doing today?
We have no idea what we're doing.
Yeah, we're here with another episode of
First episode.
Structural Sense.
It's the first episode. We'll
First
get it worked
episode.
out.
No, we're gonna do one before this.
First real episode.
First real episode. And we're here with our guest today, Marc Pagcaliwangan, professional boxer. More or less, we'll just get him to talk a little bit about himself, introduce himself, and give you guys an idea of who he is.
Hi, I'm Marc Pagcaliwangan. I am an undefeated professional fighter with a record of 10-0 with 8 knockouts. I am based out of here in London. When I have a fight, I go train over to Wildcard in Los Angeles, and yeah, that's about it.
That's great. So we just had lunch with Mark. We just got together for lunch. We were planning on shooting this at the restaurant, but it was a little bit too busy. And we were sharing with Mark our goals and our philosophies for this podcast, where we want to talk about mindset and how important that is to any goal, but particularly to physical fitness. And as a professional boxer, especially with that kind of record, there's no doubt that Mark has an understanding of physical fitness and the mindset that goes into that. And you shared a story with us while we were having lunch about a particularly bad day you had when you were down at Wildcard and how that was followed up by a good day.
Yeah.
Why don't you share that with us again? We'll go into a bit more detail.
Since we've been talking about mindset, I believe that mindset is very important. You know, having a positive mind towards everything is very important. You're not gonna see a fighter or see myself go to a fight thinking negatively, like having a bad mindset. So like in the story I was telling you guys, I was having like a rough morning. It was sparring day and was feeling well. I just kept thinking all this negative thoughts in my mind, like, oh, I'm gonna do horrible today. I'm gonna be all shitty. I'm gonna be too tired. And what happened? I got my ass handed to me in sparring, because you know, if you put your mind through something like that, it's gonna happen. So I always believe in like being positive and believing in yourself, believing like good things are going to happen. That's how good results happen as well.
That's good. And then you mentioned the following week on sparring day again, you had a much better day because you said you were in a better mindset. You said you went for a good walk or a good run before the set. Walk us through what that day looked like. How did that differ from the week before?
That day, like that morning, I felt a lot better. I went for a nice morning run. I felt good, and you know, I was in a good mood. I was excited to get back to the gym, prove myself. You know, I had positive, like a positive mind, positive energy, and I did really well in sparring that day because I had something to show. I was having a great day. You know, just everything is all about mental, right? If you're thinking negative, you're gonna have a negative day. If you have positive mindset, you're gonna have a positive day. That's how I see it as.
That's awesome. You also mentioned over lunch that sometimes you listen to a motivational audio or something before a workout, before a spar. What kind of things do you listen to?
Oh, I listen to a lot of things. Like there's like a huge like playlist on YouTube. Fearless Motivation is like one of my favorites. I'll listen to like Floyd Mayweather. He has this. People make lots of snippets of his speeches, and they will put that online. And I'll just like listen to like Floyd Mayweather talk. I'll listen to Muhammad Ali, of his speeches. It's just anything positive. I like to listen to it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So when it comes down to, say, for instance, reading, I know you do read a lot. Is there anything specifically that you read that gets you into that specific mindset, or gets you in a good attitude, or
anything? I don't know. I read a lot actually. I've read like I read most of Robert Greene's books. 48 Laws of Power, Mastery. I don't know. I just love to read. I love reading like the self-motivation books, like where like self-improvement books. Sorry, all those things really like pump me up, especially Mastery, because that book it really like it really helped me a lot. It really explains what you should be doing to reach mastery, right? And he talks about he shares stories where like people like had nothing and then they kept a positive mindset towards their main goal and to mastering their goal, and they mastered their goal. Nice. So it's just everything is just about like keeping a positive mindset.
So you do some training. You take on some clients for fitness training and boxing training.
I do.
You have one coming up this afternoon.
Yeah.
We had a situation here yesterday. I came in to do my weekly training with Ryan, and I knew I wasn't in the right frame of mind when I got here. And I didn't express that to him, and I knew I wasn't right, and ended up injuring my shoulder very mildly. It should be okay, but somebody in my situation, many people out there that come to the gym for their fitness, and they know they're not in their right mind when they get there. They've had a bad day, they've had some problems, they had bad traffic on the way getting here. Whatever it is, when they get here, when they walk in that door and they're not in the right mindset, what's a tip that you could share with them to help them get their mind right?
It's really different for everybody, to be honest. What I would do myself, I like to put my headphones on and listen to like some like hardcore rap music. Okay. To get, it depends what kind of situation you're in, right? Some people, I know I've met some people where they like to have like peace and quiet before they walk to the gym, or when they're going to the gym they would like listen to like slow music, R&B music, jazz music, classical music, just to like like calm them down. Me, I like to get pumped up, and that usually like usually does help me in a sense.
That's a good tip. We'll try that next time.
Yeah.
Maybe I won't hurt myself.
Yeah. I find for me that's pretty much the same thing. It's either something to get me motivated enough, or I also find as well is just a certain environment. Right?
Yeah,
being around specific people
be the environment
here at the gym, like, they motivate you a little bit more depending on what exactly it is you're doing, right? So,
well, like even for me, like if I have a bad day, I try to tell myself, like, all right, when I get this workout in, it's gonna be a brand new start. It'll be a good day. Just gotta work out, and I'll forget about what's going on. So usually, like the workout usually does like clear out your mind.
So when you have a bad day, when you have that bad workout, you don't beat yourself up over it afterwards. You just put it behind you and focus on the next one?
I would like beat myself up for like a couple hours, and then I'll like get my mind straight again. Be like, oh, it was just a bad day. It was an off day. I'll be back tomorrow.
That's great. That's awesome. Well, Marc, we appreciate you taking some time out of your busy day to sit down and share some tips with us. What's next in the professional boxing career of Marc Pagcaliwangan?
My team is working on something for me right now. Hopefully, I'll get a fight by August or September, and keep my winning streak on. So
awesome. Well, we're looking forward to being there. Thanks again. Appreciate you taking the time out to spend some time with us.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
All right.
The interview.
So we just watched that great interview with Marc, and we went over a couple small things with him right there. We didn't want to take too much of his time because we know that he is busy. And part of the reason as to why he's busy is because he's preparing for a brand new fight that's coming up.
I did hear that, yes.
Marc is the co-main event in a fight that's on June 17th.
Yep.
Which is my birthday.
Is it really?
In Kansas.
In Kansas.
Right?
We might have to
So,
go to that one.
Yeah, I absolutely won't be there because of Wednesday, but yeah, being able to step away for a couple of years due to a couple injuries and come back, have a great fight. No real ring rust, which I loved about it. He got in there and he got working again, and from there getting a co-main event. Like 6 months out.
He's excited.
So he's excited, and so are we, because we see great things with him, and he's got a great training camp.
Great. So why don't you talk about the interview that we have lined up for next week's podcast? And I know you're excited for this one.
Awesome. Yeah. So we have an interview coming up with a personal trainer named Dan Stevenson. I've met this guy working here with a couple of the trainers at Fit Club, and I had a great conversation with him. I always have great conversations with Dan in regards to mindset, because as far as when it comes down to him and I, we sort of thrive on the same thing when it comes down to the analytical aspects of training, but the results based, and getting our clients the result, and the mindset of getting our clients results. Yep. So I've trained here with Dan for a while now, the last 5 months. Learned a lot about him as far as a person, genuinely a great person and a great trainer. Has a lot of clients that are getting awesome results, one of which who's lost a significant amount of weight. She's been doing awesome, and I watch her work ethic. So he just gets on his clients as far as making sure that they get the results that they want, and works with them properly to get those results. So it's great.
Awesome. That sounds good. So, and last but not least, as we close out the podcast, Ryan's tip of the week. Again, we didn't prepare this ahead of time. I'm putting him on the spot again, but I get a funny feeling it's going to be about Cracker Barrel.
Yeah. Not necessarily. Go to Cracker Barrel. No, I'm just kidding.
Go to Cracker Barrel.
I guess my tip of the week,
mac and cheese.
Yeah, would be, we've talked a little bit about nutrition and wanting certain things and eating things that might not necessarily be the best for you. So I guess my tip of the week would be try to stay consistent, try to keep the whole concept of the compound effect more active. Small disciplines over time create massive result. And do that with your eating. Because when it comes down to it, that's what's going to create that result. When we talk about the whole concept of fitness, right, we know that there is only anywhere between 2 to 4 hours a week that people work out for the most part. Yeah. All right. So that is only 2 to 4 hours out of the 162 to 164 hours of the week. Yeah. Right. So when it comes down to that, a lot of it is just making sure that you're consistent in those hours, right? Keeping your nutrition up. I would even go to say that nutrition would probably be 80% of it. Sleep would be the other 10, and then workouts would be the other 10. So
great tip.
Making sure that your nutrition's on. If you guys have any questions about nutrition at all, or if there's something that you need that will fit into your lifestyle, by all means, you can get a hold of us, and
you can tweet us at Structural Sense directly, or tweet us individually. He's at Ryan from work. I'm at Steve Sansford. You mentioned compound effect. I think there's a podcast in the very near future explaining compound effect and the principle behind that, because it's a great principle you can apply to all areas of your life. We certainly apply it to business. We're working on applying it to fitness, but that'll be really good. So reach out to us on Twitter. Ask your questions. We're looking forward to answering your questions on this show. And until then, I think that wraps this one up. So we'll see you guys back here. Thanks again for watching. We appreciate the support. Please like and share this with your friends. Send us any questions you have. We'll have Ryan answer them. And until then, keep in mind, the body will never be right until the mind is. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.